Good morning. It is a delight to enjoy every last minute of these summer days with patios and parks and beaches so very welcoming. The evenings are lovely for cool walks and the days for the welcoming shade of trees and umbrellas. The goldfish in my pond are getting fat and sassy, anticipating the long sleep of winter, and the crabgrass is madly out of control. Must find the cure before my neighbors disown me. But it does look nice and green. One of the totally unexpected discoveries of the halt to normal living has been a greater awareness of where money goes. When I couldn't go out to McDonald's to pick up a sausage McMuffin, I made a BLT. When I couldn't buy some flowers on a whim, I cut greenery from the backyard. The car only needs to be gassed up every 5 or 6 weeks rather than every other weekend. Virtually all travel has been foregone, no holidays, family dinners eliminated, no parties to take a gift for the hostess or a bottle of wine for the dinner. Dry cleaning almost non-existent. No need for a new wardrobe for a new season. Comfort reigns. And so at the end of the month, there's less spent. And then I can decide what is important and how much I can redirect to things I believe in. More on the plate at church or to the bishop's appeal. Support a child in the Middle East. Send a check to the Templars Foundation or to U of T. Such lovely problems. But that is the reality of those of us who are fortunate enough to have an ongoing income. Retired and on a pension, able to work from home, still going to work, or on another form of income. But what of our neighbors who are not as fortunate, unable to continue working, but still facing the same rent to pay and bellies to fill, while on a reduced government-provided income? And what of the store owners, the restaurateurs, the gyms and the corner store? Shut down for months, forced to lay off employees, under new rules which increase their costs while reducing their opportunities. This week, the Canadian Chamber of Commerce said up to 60% of restaurants will be closing forever within the next 3 months, because after 5 months of closure with increased costs and only 30% capacity allowed, how can one survive? 83% of hospitality businesses were at least temporarily closed. 2/3 of them were forced to lay off at least some of their staff, and 1/4 were forced to lay off everyone. Over 800,000 people lost their jobs in the restaurant industry. Those are just staggering numbers, representing so much suffering and worry and pain. Well, what can you and I do to help out? Many people remain afraid to return to their normal activities, even those they can access. The parking garage at the mall isn't even 1/4 full. The gym has perhaps 20% of the people I normally see. Oh, it does make shopping very easy for those who head out to the mall. For those who choose to stay at home, there is online shopping. Online shopping has boomed, but unfortunately, it hasn't been directed at our neighborhood. Instead, most of it goes to the distant and remote and well-funded. So let's make a resolution that fits right in with our responsibility to love our neighbor. Let's demonstrate it by first calling or texting our local stores for our needs before looking farther afield. Most local stores are only too happy to respond in creative and effective ways. No problem with a delivery or a pickup. Make your community your first choice. In the long run, it's you who will be the beneficiary. And as a bonus, remember, shopping locally is always touted as best for the environment. If we don't shop near home, consider what will be left outside our doors when the vaccine is discovered and the danger recedes and we all emerge from our hidey holes. The empty stores and offices, the bankruptcies of neighbors and friends, the underemployed and the unemployed, the losses to death, to drugs, and to despair. For a moment, put yourself into the shoes of the owner of the local shop that you've patronized for years. Unlike those employed by government or large corporations, the small business, the entrepreneur at the corner of your street, generally means a family and their dreams. They invest their heart and soul, their savings, their talent, their time, all that they have. Can they hold on? Can they catch up? Can they survive? Now, some will come out of the crisis having done well. Home improvement sales have boomed. Home cooking and bread making keeping the supermarkets busy. And garden and lawn care has new enthusiasts. Now, when it comes to innovation, entrepreneurs and new ideas for these times have been great, but I have to tell you, my favorite has to be the panhandlers' latest ploy for patios. Not wearing a mask, they approach, starting into a long spiel on their need for your money, while breathing heavily in your face. And immediately you prefer any change or small bill you might have so that they'll go away. And you don't need to be in a patio. I had one approach me as I walked along the Danforth today. In the other direction, my least favorite folk, both public and private, are those who are providing the hangouts for the under 25 set who throw caution to the wind, seeming to see honor in defying sense and guidelines in resuming party time. The boom of late night, maskless partygoers who do not want to go back to their tiny apartments or their parents' basement. And that may be explained by the still undeveloped brain or just hormones and the urge to party. Whatever the reality is, they are putting themselves and others at risk. Indulgence isn't a Christian virtue. But compassion is, lauded in the Bible and Christ's teachings. To help others is virtually a commandment. If you can, go back to the stores and restaurants and bars and gyms that you used to frequent. But do it in a COVID responsible manner. That truly is a good Christian deed. If you cannot go out, consider takeaway meals or order and pick up supplies or grocery delivery or continue paying your gym membership. Support your neighbors and local businesses so that they will be there when you are able to return. We all have talents and gifts that God has given us. Some people are fortunate enough to quickly discover the way they can best use them. Some follow in their parents' footsteps, comfortably doing their best since they were a child. Some follow their own dream to God's service, and some walk through a door and find the perfect fit. But for most of us, it's a question of hit or miss. We try something here and something there, and when we get lucky, we find a cause that excites us, or a job that makes us happy when we get up in the morning, and when we go home at night, we feel satisfied. And that is when we best get to use the talents and gifts that God gave us. But regardless of your station or your talents, your opportunities or your interests, you are required by God to do your best to use the gifts of God. In the Bible, there are a number of stories that talk about how God expects us to carefully use what he has given us. There's the story of the man who challenges his servants to look after his wealth in his absence. Some do, and some do not, and they are rewarded accordingly. And then there's the story of the 10 virgins with their lamps, awaiting the bridal party. Some are prepared, and some are not. Some are rewarded, and some are not. But best of all is the story of the widow's mite. When Christ compared the offerings of those who had a great deal and made a showing of their generosity, and then the widow who had so little, but gave what she had, minute though it was, and that was the greatest gift of all. That was offering up to God all that there was, all that one was. And out of these stories, we learn what is expected of us. to do all we can with what we have, to not be afraid, to not be discouraged, but to carry on and then give all those talents to making this world a better place, a more caring place, a more loving place, a place where the talented share their talents, where the wealthy share their wealth, and where those who cannot care for themselves are cared for, where the widows and the orphans, the abused and disdained, the crippled and the aged are all neighbors and are all loved. We must create a world in which the gifts of God are employed, not ignored, where you are expected to do your very best for yourself, for your family, and for others. Squandering the gifts of God through sloth or indifference is unacceptable. And in this time of crisis for our homes, country, and world, we cannot sit back indifferently, waiting for the good times to return. We need to do everything that we can do to ensure that those good times can return, and not just for us. Remember the words of Paul? And let us not grow weary of doing good, for in due season we will reap if we do not give up. Don't give up on your community or your neighbor or yourself. Keep on keeping on. God bless, and until next week, keep praying, keep caring, and work hard at being the very best good neighbor you ever can be. And it is all going to come out right. So may it be. Amen. Remember, online worship Sunday morning and lots of services to choose from. Find one or more and have a great week.